Coming to you live from downtown Detroit, this is Benzinga's Pre-Market Prep with your host, Joel Elconin.
This is a volatile puppy here, isn't it?
And Dennis Dick.
I'm bidding a penny. I will buy the stock for a penny.
With everything you need to start your trading day.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to this Tuesday edition of Benzinga's Pre-Market Prep. Spencer Israel, Joel Elconin, Dennis Dick with you this morning. Unlike yesterday, we do have some news flow. We've got this overnight rally in Bitcoin that I'm sure everyone is keen to discuss. We also have some analysts making calls on Lyft this morning. The Dow spinoff begins today, so they'll begin trading under the ticker DOW. We have an earnings miss from Walgreens Boots Alliance and some notable analyst calls as well. Our guest today is Paul LaMonica. He will join us at 8:15. He is a digital correspondent at CNN Business. In the meantime, Joel, what is the word here in the overnight session?
We got green on the screen, Spencer. We have the S&P futures trading up 2 points at 2,872.50. Knocking on the door, yesterday's high. Yesterday's high comes in at 73.50. That's the gateway to our October 10th high of 2,900.75. I'm not even putting any other numbers on there because that's the only daily resistance level I have. Crude oil sprints over $62. 62.19 stands at the high. That's the high for the year. We've taken back a little over half of that move we've had since October in the crude market. Gold in the red by $1.10 at 12.93.10. I'm looking for that to come down to the 12.80 level. Silver slips under $15, down 11.4 cents at 14.97. And the greatest Bitcoin trader of all time is going to come on right now. Triple D, you shouldn't have had 4,200 as a target, man. That was too small.
It took that target out and just blasted off into orbit there. So my dream came true, Joel. My dream came true. We were at 3,800, and I had that dream that Bitcoin went to 4,200, and it did. Look, it was a premonition. I had that dream, but now, holy cow, 4,800?
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
Breakout city.
Yeah, Oliver Van Lansberg Sadie, chief executive of the London-based crypto firm BCB, said it was likely triggered by an algorithmic order worth about 100 million spread across major exchanges, Coinbase, Kraken, and Bitstamp. So that's what they're saying happened on it. But clear breakout here. Do you buy the breakout or do you wait for it to come back down to 4,000?
I don't know. I'm not a crypto trader. All you can do is trade it technically because it's very difficult to trade on any fundamentals because you don't have cash flows, you don't have anything to evaluate there. So I always get a kick out of people who put a target on it because I have no idea how the hell they come up with those. But, you know, you trade anything technically. So I haven't seen a chart on it. Can you bring a chart up on it? Wow, that's today's chart. That just looks like a rocket ship.
That is a chart.
So from 4,000 to 5,000 in one day. But you know what? If you were short this thing or playing it, and I don't think there's a lot of people who still short this thing. Obviously, it's done through the futures. But if you're, a bull here, I mean, this is a good sign. It's a good sign. It's back. I mean, we were talking in the 3,800, 900, 4,000. We said if we were Bitcoin traders that the chart was looking pretty good. And now finally you do get a breakout here. So, putting it in perspective, you're still in a serious downtrend. It's still ugly and there's pain all over the place. So you get anywhere near 6,000, overhead supply is going to come in big time. But there's room to 6,000. So don't kid yourself. Even if you're not a crypto believer, and I'm not a crypto believer, there still can be some wicked, bear market rallies in crypto. And I think there's room to 6,000 here.
Let's take a look. I mean, are there any crypto stocks left? I guess.
Yeah, for sure. Oh, yeah.
Overstock.
Let me find you crypto stock. Look at Overstock. Overstock. OSTK. Nice day for it. Up 6%. That's not a coincidence. Also, Riot Blockchain brought to us by Spinner Chat. That one, a little life yesterday. A lot of life this morning. Up 23% here. So we got crypto stocks. I'll also say, I don't think it's a coincidence that AMD is trading up 1.2% here this morning and NVIDIA trading up almost 1% this morning. It's not the major cash flow, but it's not bad for them that Bitcoin's showing some life, because we know a lot of the mining that is done is using their processors. So I would say AMD and NVIDIA are it's not direct ways to play it, but they're indirect beneficiaries of a crypto rally.
Yeah, I see Overstock was kind of lazy. After, I think it had earnings report and sold off. Spotty trades here and Overstock. Let's see. Oh boy, I'm trying to figure out.
A lot of overhead supply.
Yeah, tough, man.
People are in the pain trade. You get up near 18, you're going to have trouble. I just can't see it just coming back to 18, 19, 20 easily, just because this has been, a death march here. Well, not death march, but it's been a really ugly month for it, from 22 down to 16. So some people get their money back here this morning. It's up 17, but I think if you're buying it here up 5%, I think you're going to run into a lot of overhead supply issues here. So it's hard to chase this one this morning. The Riot blockchain is a little bit different story. I mean, I don't know company fundamentals at all on this, if there even is any good ones, but it was showing life, and you are actually getting up near highs. So it starts to open up a little bit. So from a technical basis, it could probably go up easier than the Overstock can. But again, it's such a big move here this morning. Are you really wanting to come in and buy something up 23%? You're buying somebody else's profits. I've never made a lot of money chasing stocks, but from a technical basis, it's a little more open than the Overstock.
Okay. The Riot got a little blip to 484. You backed off to 437. Not seeing much. I see a daily high at, boy, you haven't been up at this level a long time. But you're right. A lot of overhead supply in these stocks. We just bring them to note here. And I just noticed Overstock is trading right at yesterday's high. So first things first, let's open above 1706 and continued higher. I didn't see anything in the dailies until like 18 and a half, but holding 17 will be important for Overstock. Let's get we got Paul LaMonica at 8:15 from CNN. We could probably get the earnings done by then.
Oh yeah, we can, because there's only one big one of note, and it is Walgreens Boots, and it is a mess here this morning. Props to Jim Cramer. He got the lift wrong, but he got the Walgreens right, because right at the end of his show last night, he was saying that he thinks it's going to miss, and he was absolutely correct on this one. Down 5 points here this morning on a big miss. Spencer, give us those numbers.
The Q2 adjusted EPS, $1.64 versus $1.74 estimate. Sales $34.5 billion versus $34.62 billion. So a miss on both the EPS and sales for the Q2. They also cut their fiscal year EPS guidance from a previous range of up 7 to 12% to about flat for the year.
They said this was the toughest quarter since the merger. We know obviously it became Walgreens Boots, and so the company wasn't saying anything good on the conference call really here either. This is a mess. I mean, it's bringing down CVS here too. So you CVS bulls, you're going to challenge the lows of the move on CVS potentially here today too. Low of the move in CVS is 51.93. It is trading down $1.20 here this morning in the 52 handle. So it could challenge those lows. Does it hold is the question. Walgreens Boots is a little bit different story. It's got a low there, 59.33, but we are below it right now, which is concerning. So if you are bullish, you want it to hold, absolutely want to get back up and hold these lows, because if you go, the 59.33 actually coincided nicely with the June of 2018 low of 59.07. You're below both of those right now. So early trade here. It's traded 355,000 shares. It could get back up, but if you're playing, this is going to, be a dip to buy here, you want it to hold that 59.
All right. I see a pair of monthly lows underneath 59, underneath that area that Dennis is talking about, and 58.39, 58.
All in this area.
50. Yeah. So that's what I'm looking at here. 58
go back
and a half.
to 2014. Joel's
these
ones I see them.
Yeah. I mean, what else are you gonna do?
I mean, we can always find more lows. We can stocks go up through areas, but we're just saying the 59 is a critical area of support.
And you know what? If you go back far enough on these moves, I guess when I start talking about monthlies on things, it's a pretty big move. But the other interesting thing about this is it's just not bouncing, Dennis. I mean, where's the bounce? I mean, sitting on the low, is it heavily offered?
It's just active. It's a nickel market right now, so it's not heavily offered. It's an active market. They've priced this thing. I mean, it's traded 358,000 shares here this morning. It's a serious trading here. Show us the pre-market chart again. We're just kind of hanging out here, right?
Hanging out near the low.
What time did the earnings come out?
7 a.m.
I would have.
Well, you'll be able to see it on the chart.
7 a.m. I think.
So you've had an hour and a half to digest this report, and it's traded some serious volume here at 58.5, 360,000 shares. That's going to take it's got some work to do to try to get those losses back. A lot of times things can bounce. You get these thinner stocks, and this one is not one of them. But if you get a thinner stock that trades, and it trades down 5 points on a few thousand shares, that's nothing. It means it can bounce right back. When it trades down that kind of volume, now you've had shares exchanged at these prices, people buying, and people who buy it down here are going to be quick to sell. You got scalpers, you got all kinds of things. That's why it's difficult when the volume starts getting jacked up at these prices or trades down there for 2-3 days at these lower prices. Not saying it's going to do that, but when they do that, they're harder to come back because price is memory, and there's so many shares that have been exchanged at those prices. Now you have, people who have said, okay, I'm out, and the other people who are buying there will be eventual sellers, and the people who held on will want to sell it in the case of a rally. It's difficult when the volume gets jacked up like this at these prices. So I don't think this one's going to bounce right back.
And you're getting a reset here in the CVS. If you're so inclined to buy the low of the move, that was 51.93, supported by a couple other lows near the $52 area. So a reset here of CVS.
You're going to get a shot maybe at those lows again, and maybe that's the play. I mean, if you've got a low there. So I always say you can put any trade on as long as have an out. If you're saying, you didn't want to chase it and was turning around at 55, 56, it's going to give you another shot here, potentially at that low around $52. Call it 52, just round up the 51.93 low. So, I mean, I can't argue with you giving it a shot. It starts taking it out, starts going down 51.5, 51, then you probably got to bail on it. But put any trade on as long as you got an out, you have it defined out here, and that's the low for March the 8th.
And I think you see some shorts in the CVS maybe coming out at that $52 area.
Might be.
Yeah.
I like that play better than trying to play Walgreens, the leader, off of those lows. I think CVS is a little safer play. It's not going to be obviously as wild as the leader here this morning. So, but use Walgreens as an indicator for you. If you're coming in here and Walgreens just starts getting smacked around even more, they will smack around CVS more here. There's still a relationship there, obviously, a very close relationship. So you got to be aware of that. If you're trading CVS, I would not take Walgreens off my screen. Walgreens starts getting a bid, CVS is rallying. If that happens, but we don't know what's going to happen yet. As traders, we have to be prepared for both scenarios. The scenario where Walgreens opens and pukes further, or the scenario where Walgreens opens at 59 and starts to find some interest and slowly starts to climb again. That will definitely affect CVS. So that's how I trade. I'm a pairs trader, relationship-based trader. I'll be focusing on the trading of CVS this morning, not the leader Walgreens, which will be more difficult to trade.
All right. Is that it for our earnings? Yeah, that's pretty much. I mean, we don't really need to cover Kodak here. But Lyft, technically, let's talk about that with Mr. LaMonica.
Bring him on on the fly.
Yep, let's do it. Let's bring him on live. He's a TV guy.
Oh yeah, Paul can do it.
Okay, I will. While I dial up Paul, why don't you guys here? Let's talk about.
Why don't you guys do something?
Because do something. Because it'll take me a second to bring him on here.
My nose for 40 seconds.
Do something while
you
bring
dial
him
up Paul in the background.
Do something.
On live television.
S&P futures up
or live YouTube.
2.75, 28.73 and a quarter, trading near the highs of the pre-market session. Mr. LaMonica?
Here's a good question, JB Spec. How do you calculate the correlations? So if I'm trading, I'll use the WBA against the CVS. I tell you, it depends on the sector, depends on how closely the relationship is. CVS and WBA typically is a close one. I typically trade it on an earnings report. So, and this depends. It doesn't hold for every stock. But on a WBA to CVS, I typically will do it 3-to-1. So if I'm trading the leader, I'm going to do, for every $10,000 I would trade of WBA, I would trade $30,000 of CVS against it. That's only on earnings day. Even at the hedge, when I'm doing hedges, and I sometimes will take WBA or take a company through the report and hedge it with the peer. I do it either 3-to-1 or 4-to-1 if it's a closely related peer, because typically the leader will move at least 3 times as the sympathy play.
All right. Well, we got Paul LaMonica on now. He's been on in the background. Paul LaMonica, digital correspondent at CNN Business. Paul, how's it going this morning?
Good, thanks. How you guys doing? Sounds like you're discussing Walgreens. Not so good.
Yeah, could you just recap what Dennis said there and how you trade the Walgreens Boots Alliance CVS spread?
I mean, I caught the tail end of it. I mean, I think both of them are pretty challenged right now. To be honest, I mean, obviously Walgreens, they may have some more difficult problems because of the tobacco overhang and the FDA, cracking down on them. And that's obviously something that CVS doesn't have to worry about. But both Walgreens and CVS face, similar issues with regards to increased competition from Amazon and Walmart and other retailers. But, Walgreens probably has more challenges, not just because of tobacco, but also because it has that UK-based business with, Alliance Boots that's, not, performing all that well either. So Walgreens is probably more trouble, but I wouldn't say CVS is healthy.
I mean, you look at that, and it's a great point you're making. I mean, we've had some nice rallies over the course of the last couple of years with CVS and Walgreens, but really, since the Amazon news, the trend for both of these stocks has really been down. Yes, we had a nice rally in 2018 where we got back a lot of those losses, but here we are 6 months later, and we quickly have basically given all that back again. And CVS, the same story. I mean, it's got to be about 2 years since we knew that Amazon has been, talking and obviously going to be competition for CVS and Walgreens, but the trend has not been your friend since that time. So every rally has really been, if you were selling rallies on both of these stocks, you've been playing it right. So I think that overhang is a serious concern.
Right. Oh, I think that's definitely the case. I mean, the competition isn't going to go away, even if some of the issues get resolved with regards to Walgreens and tobacco and whatever is going on with Brexit. I've lost track of how many votes they've had, what's next in the UK. I mean, clearly, Amazon is here to stay. Walmart is here to stay. And, other big retailers, are tough competitors on the front end of the store too. I mean, you have to look at, Walmart and Amazon, both from a front end and back end part of the store, but also, companies like Costco and, Target. I mean, there are, I think the drugstore chains have tried to diversify their offerings to, be more attractive from a food standpoint. But I think anecdotally, I mean, just think about it. I mean, anytime you go into a drugstore, if you're picking up a prescription and you randomly go into the front end of the store and try and buy something there, you may buy that impulse purchase, but you probably regret it because, a pack of Oreos at a Walgreens
costs more money.
Not going to be as cheap as it's going to be at a Walmart, a Kroger, or a Costco.
Yeah, that's a great point you're making too.
And you have the overhang. I mean, I haven't heard much of what the JP Morgan, Amazon, Warren Buffett alliance on healthcare, right? They're starting to do the reforms, and you also have the Amazon effect taking place on that. But let's move over to Lyft, and boy, oh boy, an IPO. I mean, how did these guys price it at 87 on the opening print? I mean, if you own the stock, boy, that was just a gift. What's your take? It traded down $3.10 this morning, new all-time low, 65.91. Boy, oh boy, the hype is too much. What's your take on Lyft?
Yeah. I mean, I think that there's obviously a big difference between the IPOs that are going out now and the ones from the late 90s, when we had the dot-com bubble. I mean, I think the companies now are much bigger. They have scale, and the revenue growth is pretty strong. But that being said, these valuations do appear to be, lofty, to put it mildly, given the lack of profitability. And I think, a company like Lyft, the big concern, and it should be for Uber when it goes public as well, is that these are two companies that are probably going to be fighting very aggressively for market share. And when that happens, that usually means that profits fall by the wayside. And, that's not something that I think investors are going to be willing to tolerate. Because, I mean, at first blush, I don't think you can clearly say that either of these companies is going to emerge as the Amazon of ride sharing going forward, and that you can justify these valuations right now given the amounts of losses.
And was that you buying $100 million worth of Bitcoin last night?
I don't know who it was that was doing that. It certainly wasn't me, but yeah, I mean, Bitcoin's had a stunning rally. I mean, what we're, back near, 5,000. I mean, I've said this numerous times. I mean, I do think that Bitcoin will be a viable currency, probably
worth something.
for something, for certain types of transactions. But the hype about it becoming the new be all end all, form of payment for everyone, I think, that's been overdone. And then the problem obviously with Bitcoin is that there are so many other cryptocurrencies out there. So I think we need a shakeout. And these aren't trading like currencies. I mean, I think crypto assets is what some people are starting to refer to them as instead of currencies, because currencies don't move in this volatile of a fashion. They just don't. I mean, these are more like commodities than currencies.
Well, I think and I've said this before on the show too, I think, you go to some, obviously I don't know how many third world countries we have less, but countries that really struggle with inflation. And if you can find something, like obviously, you get some of these countries have 200-400% inflation a year. I mean, maybe Bitcoin or cryptocurrency is a currency of choice in some of these countries, or could be, where they've struggled so much with their local currencies. I mean, we don't have that problem in North America. We obviously, our currencies are fairly stable. So I don't see what we need that for, other than, looking, but then you look at these other countries and maybe they do need some type of cryptocurrency because their local currencies just aren't stable enough to be viable currencies.
Yeah, that's a great question. There might be some emerging markets where it makes sense to have a cryptocurrency that is more attractive as an actual form of payment and not just something that people are, trading as if it were a stock or a commodity. But I think you're right. In developed markets, I don't think there is necessarily a need to replace the dollar, the euro, the yen, et cetera.
I want to take it back to Lyft for a second, because I had a couple of questions and Joel quickly changed the subject on me. Just want to go to Lyft, LYFT. It's going to be a difficult thing to value, but how much do you think, like Joel posed the question right off the bat, but I don't know if you had a chance to answer it, so I want to ask you too. How much is media hype at fault for seeing something trade? First of all, to price it up to 72 because it's creating so much demand, and then to actually go and open at 87 because there's going to be the secondary demand from the people who couldn't obviously get any shares in the primary market. How much do you think media hype is at fault at this? Because we've heard about this Lyft IPO for months, and there hasn't been any other big IPOs. So it's just like people hungry for something new, something exciting. And that hunger is going to fade, obviously, in a hurry here. And I worry about if there's going to be the demand for the next big IPO, because everybody got burned on this one pretty hard, at least initially.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's probably still too soon to say. I mean, I think the, Facebook, which is obviously having, more challenges, of course, this year, is a great example of something where you really need to take some time before you can judge an IPO. I mean, a company like Facebook flopped, so to speak, because it didn't have a huge opening and it quickly fell very sharply. And obviously, this is still a company that's now one of the largest in the world, despite some of the more recent challenges. Not to say that Lyft is going to take that same path, but I think it's premature to say that, Lyft was a success Friday because at 11:48 or wherever it was when it finally started trading, the stock was up 20-something%, and now it's a failure because it's pulled back for the past 2 days. I mean, I think we need to be. I think
there's a longer
that
term
media,
picture here before passing judgment.
I think if anything, the media would be at fault for analyzing every single day as if it's the be all end all. To me, it's like the equivalent of saying right now on April 2nd that the Yankees or Red Sox aren't going to go to the playoffs because they're whatever their record is right now. I mean, the Yankees are 2-2. That doesn't mean they're going to finish the year 81-81. I mean, they might, but just you can't extrapolate 4 games for 162 season. I think that's the same way with the stock.
Yeah, Dennis, stop doing that.
That's
He's talking to
That's
you.
what we do on this show continuously. Analyze every little.
We all do it. Yeah.
as the day trader that I am, it's my job to analyze things and pass judgment too quickly here. But it's a good point to bring us back here. I mean, Lyft could be $100 stock here in a year. Who knows? But I just obviously think anybody who bought this at 87 is now trading at 66 is going to have a tough time quickly getting their money back because a lot of overhead supply. Now,
that's why, I mean, you should never buy an IPO on its first day, I think. I mean, unless you're getting the allocation at the offering price, buying in the aftermarket, I mean, you're just rolling the dice.
I mean, I tweeted this out before it opened, and this before the open, and they show you the book, and I've got the book there, and I'm looking at it, and there was somebody that had a 200,000 share offer selling at $1. And everybody's questioning why would they do that. I'm like, that's a marketable limit order that somebody says, give me the opening price no matter what it is, because they know that it's not opening at $1. So somebody wanted the hell out on the open, and that person who would have been printed at 87 because that's where it opened at, looking like a genius here now when the stock's at 66. So there was definitely some people, that probably wanted to buy the open, but I tell you, there was a few smart people who were selling that initial opening price at 87 as well.
Right. No, definitely. I just think always buying or selling on one day. It's just good luck with that.
Paul, one more before I let you on. As a fellow news guy, I wanted to get your impressions on Apple News Plus and its sustainability or going forward. Do you have any thoughts on that?
Not really. It's as being part of that business, I'd probably prefer to kind of not comment, to be honest.
Fair enough. And any insight into the stupid stock move of the day today?
I think it's too soon, just yet.
Okay.
Usually, look at that, midday, so nothing's jumping out, right now.
I'll give you a ride blockchain as a candidate here. Bitcoin gets a nice little left and right, goes up 25% here this morning. So I'll give you the first candidate for my stupid stock.
It very well could be. I noticed that Overstock is surging, pre-market trading as well. So you're probably going to see a lot of those ancillary Bitcoin blockchain plays get big pops because of the crypto move today.
Paul, what are you? I don't even think we've ever asked you. You're the digital correspondent at CNN Business. What are you on during the day?
I'm sorry?
Are you're on CNN some days, right? Not every day, but
not more often than not, CNNI often. So.
Oh, okay. And what time is that at?
I'll be on their show at the end of their 9 a.m. show today at 9:45-ish.
Okay. All right.
So talking about Tesla, so that'll be interesting.
Always interesting. Paul LaMonica.
People amazingly have thoughts about Tesla.
Dennis.
My thoughts on Tesla changes every hour. I'm bullish, bearish, bullish, bearish.
I think Elon Musk's
I cannot even control my own brain's thoughts on Tesla. So my opinions, I could trade with myself in my head on Tesla continuously.
Paul LaMonica, digital correspondent at CNN Business, joining us here on Benzinga's Pre-Market Prep. A great follow on Twitter. One of my favorite, at LaMonica Buzz. Catch him. Thank you very much, Paul. We'll dial you up again soon.
Thanks a lot, guys. Appreciate it. Have a good one.
All right, Griffin 11's asking about this Dow DuPont split this morning, and I know there was a little thing in Baird's over the weekend. I think it was bullish, but Dennis, any take on that? You going to be trading it the first day, or let things shake out a little bit?
I usually let them shake out a little bit, and I hate holding them through too. Like I was going to trade Dow DuPont last night, actually, when it was getting bid up because Kramer was pumping it last night, but I was like, I don't want. It gets all confusing when you get the spinoff happening and it's going to be changing over. I mean, sometimes, things can get messed up when they're actually doing those things. So I typically wait for a day or two till it, it settles into where its range, where it wants to be. Obviously, we do have the DOW spinoff here this morning. So if you own Dow DuPont, you're going to be getting some DOW shares. The adjusted close for Dow DuPont DWDP is 36.5885. So say 36.59. So it's actually trading up here this morning, up about 1%. It did get downgraded this morning at Citigroup, but there's so many other things happening here with the spinoff there that the downgrades effects are being muted here. DWDP downgrade at Citigroup. You have DOW, it's closed now. It was when issued. It was already trading when issued, what is traded on the symbol DOW.WI. They dropped the WI now, and the close there was 53.50. So it's actually trading up $1. So both stocks here trading up this morning. So people who did hold it long overnight, it looks like they are actually being rewarded here this morning because both stocks are trading higher.
All right, Dennis, ding, 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 8:30. What are you seeing in balance land?
Bring them up, hot off the press. See if there's anything jumping out at me here. Not really. Pfizer, 76,000 to buy. That's notable for Pfizer. I'd say the banks looking a little bit weaker here this morning.
Yeah, what a rally in the banks
Yeah,
yesterday.
it was. It was a nice rally in the banks yesterday, and that was on the backs of the TLT. I mean, we're going to say this again and again. I'm going to tell you from a correlations perspective. People are saying, you know, they want me to look at a pairs or a relationship-based show here in the future, and we should do that. I talk about this a lot, though. I talk about relationships almost every show. I mean, that's how I trade, is based on relationships. And when I'm looking, you know, at the SPY and looking, you know, at different things, the market's trading up. I don't necessarily automatically assume that the banks are trading up. I typically look to the TLT first to get a feel for where the banks usually are. And when the TLT is down, which it was yesterday, and we mentioned that, it was probably going to be a good day for the banks. So the TLT continued to fall yesterday, and that's why the banks continued to rally. They are inversely correlated to the TLT. So TLT down, banks up. TLT down, stocks like XR or stocks like the utilities, stocks like the REITs sometimes show a little bit of weakness, but nothing works better, I believe, than the inverse correlation between the TLT and the banks. This morning, the TLT is trading higher here a little bit. That puts a little bit of pressure on the banks. But that being said, these are counter moves, and usually the counter move doesn't always win here. So I actually don't mind the banks on a pullback here this morning, just like I wouldn't mind the short on the TLT into the rally here this morning, because that was a counter move and from the trend, and sometimes those can last for more than one day. So TLT slightly in the green, helping the banks. Citigroup, or hurting the banks here this morning. Citigroup trading down 36 cents, 50,000 to sell here on Citigroup. But I kind of like the pullback here on these, and I might be looking to buy some of these as day trades this morning.
All right, let's go over to the drug news this morning. SGMO and Pfizer announced phase 1 and 2 interim data for investigational hemophilia A gene therapy. It was well tolerated, and they have recommended expanding the cohort. That's good news for SGMO this morning. Stock is up, last I checked, a lot.
It's one of your big movers of the day. If I'm looking at my leaderboard, it is number 2. Number 1 is ADMA, which is up 54%. It's a small stock. I would buy a lot. Must be some drug news on that too. Closed to 407. It's trading at 630. But the second numbers 2 on the list is SGMO. Closed at $9.53. Is trading up at 1380, up 45% on this good drug news.
And boy, level sticks out right away to me, and that's the $14 area, 14.53, 14.35, 14.20, littered there in the up, above the 14. So keep an eye if the rally continues. I see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 highs. Let's call it 14.25 as a potential resistance point. Pfizer not moving much off this.
Pfizer moving 0 off of it. It's obviously a smaller deal for them. Does have 76,000 to buy though, so maybe someone's liking here this morning, but it's offered down. So Pfizer also, if you look at the book, I believe the book starts to thicken up here. I looked at the book the other day. I'll bring it up here again. Just hang on. Slow book coming up for me right now on Pfizer. Yeah, 170,000 shares to go. That's significant here. So, I mean, that takes a significant amount of buying pressure to push that through it. So, not surprising that it thickens up in the 80s here as you approach that size, because what traders do and what, short-term traders do is they note that size in the book and say, I can easily cover at that. So they'll sell it ahead of it. They'll sell it short ahead of it, trying to get a free look at the downside. They know in a worst case scenario, they're going to go cover 43, especially if you're a high frequency trader, because you'll be fast enough to do it at 43 and get it covered. But that's why these things tend to thicken up ahead of the size. So if it can take out all that, the stuff in front of it and take out the 43, then it actually opens up. Next level of size on 43 is 43.50, up at 71,000 shares up there. Then at 44, there's another 400,000 shares. Pfizer always has size at every 50 cents. It's just because it's a widely owned stock by institutions. They're either getting in or out. When you haven't been up to a level for a while, those stocks, those orders will sit out there on the book for a long time. So usually you can count on size of being on Pfizer every 50 cents. And if you're going up through an area that you haven't been to in a while. And we haven't been up here for over a month.
And just speaking of size, at the whole numbers and stuff, I noticed Ford bumping up its head against $9 again. What is there, like 5 million to go there?
Shares there. Let's go look. I mean, this matters. When you're making new highs, it's nice to have the books because these orders that haven't been out there for a while can make the stock stall or potentially even reverse off of there. Not huge, 500,000 shares early for Ford at $9. That could be more than that because it is early. And it did kiss 9 yesterday, so maybe it took a little bit of them out yesterday. But Ford's just always a thick book. I mean, that's why it doesn't move very fast either. It's a $9 stock, widely owned, typically trades in a 10-cent range a lot of times, most days. So 500,000 shares at 9 is significant. That'll stall the open, but can it take that out? Sure, it can take it out.
Getting a running start. It's getting
a running start. This could be a good day for your candidate to actually take out that 9. It's a great point, Joel. Just talk about that running start. What do you mean by that?
Oh, I mean, if it comes up from, you mentioned the typical range in this thing is probably 15, 20 cents, right? So if, yesterday it climbed from, 875, 880 up to that level, there's its average range, right? And
yeah, it's not going to have the gas to get through. It's already moved its range on the day.
Exactly. Now
it takes a couple days to get up there and take it out.
Exactly.
It's working its way through it.
And if someone's short or been leading on that 9 level or looking at it as a potential breakout, I mean, here you got to figure based on the 9-day average trading range, Ford's either going to hold 9 and go back down to 880 today, or it's going to clear 9 and go to 920. I mean, it's pretty simple. So we'll see. You get some good indications off the open here, and if it's raring to go, SPOOs are helping a little bit. We're up $1.50. We're just keep a real close eye, folks, on that high from yesterday. That's 28.73.50. That's been our high of the move. So important we get through that in the first 5 minutes, 10 minutes of trading to start to work our way closer to 2,900.
One point I wanted to make on Ford, and I just want to, this is a little teaching lesson here. Sometimes these things show up in the charts, and they do here. I mean, you can see clearly that, Ford has struggled to get through 9. It's very well defined here. But, there's often a reason for the charts, and the reason is order flow. And that's why I like to look at order flow first, even before I look at a chart, because it's the order flow that makes the chart happen. And when you have some, institutions sitting there, it's predictable, not only the first, second time, but we were probably talking about this in January, February, March, it gets up there. There's huge size for it to take out. So that's what makes the charts happen. So sometimes when you actually look at order flow first, you can get ahead of the technicals. You can get ahead of the charts. That's why, if you really, people ask me, how do you trade? I trade based on order flow for the most part. I'm trading relationship based and order flow based. I'm not, I wouldn't say I'm primarily a technical trader. I wouldn't even say technicals are in my top 3 of things that I use in my daily trading. I'm respective to the technicals, but usually when I'm bringing up a chart on something, if it's something that I don't normally trade, I want to know if it's in an uptrend or downtrend. That's kind of the bulk of what I'm taking from the charts. I'm not analyzing little, where the 200-day moving average is, where the 50-day moving average is. I don't even have a moving average on my chart. That's how much I use it. I use moving averages 0. It's my own trading. I've been profitable every month for 20 years straight, so it's worked for me. If moving averages work for you, by all means, continue to do them. I'll tell you they don't work. I don't use them. They're people say I'm nuts maybe for that, but I'm not going to break my systems that work. I feel like there's other things that are more important to me. And the number one important thing to me is looking at order flow and looking, at what's happening with its peers, what's happening with the overall market. I care more about that than I do any individual chart.
All right, let's move on to some ratings here. And we have a few ratings. Let's take a look at these one at a time here and see if we got any interesting price action.
Well, before we get to the analyst ratings, let's get to credit ratings. S&P yesterday cut their credit rating on Wells Fargo.
I saw this.
Yeah, from state. Oh, thank
Yeah.
you. Congratulations.
Yeah, I saw that too. And it's been a long time. Like I noted that, and I was like, "Whoa, it's been a long time." Usually, S&P ratings they don't really move stocks that much. But I was like, I took note of that one because it's been a long time since a major bank has had their credit rating cut.
Actually,
and that was
it hasn't.
I think they said it was to do with the management changes, correct?
Yeah, it was because the CEO left. It actually has not been that long a time for Wells Fargo specifically. They also had their credit rating cut last year. Remember they had their the asset cap that got placed on them.
And I mean, it's still A- or whatever, correct? Like it's not like, but it's just, I guess people get nervous when they see that happen. It's not like we're looking at something that's going down to a B or a C. I mean,
Right.
where do they cut to? Isn't it like A- or something?
Well, the lender's rating is still A-, but the credit rating outlook is negative now. It was stable, now it's negative. So
yeah. It's not great news. It's not great news for Wells Fargo here. And it's probably weighing on the stock here this morning, too. I mean, all the banks are down. It got hit last night on this news, down about 30 cents, came back. I don't expect a huge move from this, but it's noted. It's noted that, they picked on Wells Fargo here. Not sure why, if this, I guess, just the management issues, but I noted it.
Hawking the $48 area here. I see 4 out of last 8 lows, 47.85, 48.17 was your low yesterday. So there's if you're leaning on a level here on the long side, looking to cover short, maybe some institutions looking at 48 in Wells Fargo. JV Spec is asking, Dennis, when you're looking at order flow, how far back do you go? And I would say you're looking forward, right? I mean, you're always looking at the prints and constantly looking at the book. It's something that's
I'm trying
dynamic.
To predict where the next order flow, what the next short-term trader move is. I'm always trying to predict the next short-term move, and that's how I try to get ahead of it. And so right away when I'm looking at a forward, okay, I kind of got an idea of what's happening here already this morning. You're going to have traders that are first leaning on 9. There will be a lot of short-term traders leaning on 9. So I've got that in my head. If it goes up 896, 897, trades there for a few minutes. Okay, now we have traders, short-term traders that are actually short the stock. Then what that can do is actually act, and that's my whole tractor beam analogy, is pull it up to the 9 to take it out. Because those short-term traders are trying to flip out and they become buyers. And as more and more traders do it, they put buying pressure on the stock because those short-term traders are scalpers. They're looking just to make a couple pennies in and out, in and out, in and out. Well, as they start, putting more orders on the bid, and starts to push the price a little bit higher. Then you get a couple nervous Nellies. Maybe somebody's nervous and said, "Uh-oh, we're getting too close." It gets to 898, 899. Somebody gets nervous, or you might have some savvy institution that's reading the flow too. I mean, they might just be like, there's a lot of guys that are caught short here right now. I'm just going to go scoop them, buy 500,000. Everybody's like, whoa, it went one blow. Now they're scrambling for cover. So it's all those little micro, mechanics of the market and order flow that cause charts to happen. And that's what causes things to happen. If you can get ahead of it, it can, you might be able to predict it. So usually when the stock comes in and it starts, if a stock has huge size, and Ford's not the best example because it's going to be thick all the way through. But, on a stock like, Johnson & Johnson, we were talking yesterday about that big size of 140, and then it takes it out. You can see a big spike after, and you saw that when it went 140, it was immediately 140 and a quarter after, immediately 25 cents. Then it came back down through it. So 2 things that factor there. One, people probably playing it for the breakout there so now you might have order flow traders after the fact actually playing it from the long side. And usually the market punishes all the short-term market participants there. So if you can figure out which side is crowded with short-term traders, there's some big money to be made by fading the short-term crowd. I try to predict where the short-term crowd is and fade it. And sometimes it's easier to predict. Sometimes it's, sometimes you get it wrong. Sometimes you might be just playing something and you might do it that wrong too. Like yesterday on Lyft, I thought that they might try to defend. I really thought yesterday that they might try to defend the 72. I didn't know for sure if they were going to do it or not, but I was like, I'll take a shot. So I bought Lyft at 72, first time down there. It bounced for about a minute or two, and then they took it out. And I got the hell out. As soon as they took it out, I got out. I lost 50 cents on the trade. But I was like, no, I thought that they might defend it for the first time down there. Did not happen. So my contingency plan, get the hell out if it takes out 72. It did. 50 cents worth of slippage there. But, I got out, and that was okay. I mean, you can have winning trades and losing trades. I made a call. But there's, different ways to play things. That obviously was not based on size or anything. It was based on that the 72 was the underwritten price, and I thought there might be a couple, people trying to defend that level. They tried to defend it for 2 minutes, and it didn't work, and it took it right out. It would have been the play to short through it. Now, the locate was almost impossible yesterday, or, there would have been costs through the roof to do it. But anyways, there's all kinds of different ways to play it. But at key levels, there's a lot of action, short-term traders that are jockeying. There's short-term traders that are going some are trying to buy, some are trying to sell. It's a point where things are going to happen, and if you can get on the train the right way, you can have a pretty violent move sometimes off of these key points where you have traders jockeying, and obviously if they're wrong, then they're going to be trying to get out. but always trying to fade the short-term crowd. That's how a lot of my strategies work.
Just a quick take on crude for Jazz here. You did have a rally into the 90 or 62 handle. 62.19 is your current high. I haven't drilled down to see where some of the daily highs are. But for this one, I'm keeping an eye on the low of the day. The current low of the day is 61.60. You had the high close of the rebound yesterday at 61.59. So if it goes red here, maybe it'll come back down to the where it broke out from, and that was the 60.50 area. But first things first, it needs to go red on the session, the close holding it. And now that we're up above 62 and dipped under 62, I think that 62 becomes a relevant number. 61.90 is mid-range on the session.
Just had Jimmy A bring up a point. There was a lot of PIMCO funds that cut the distributions last night. So if you're looking at some of these income funds there, I have a whole list of them on my sheet right now. PIMCO High Income Fund, PHK, PNF, PGP, RCS, all these things are getting rocked this morning. If you're wondering why, it's because they cut the distributions. So, and they do this, obviously it's the money they make that they're distributing out to the fund holders there, and they obviously weren't making as much money there. So that's why you're seeing a lot of those income funds get hit here this morning. There was some other ones too. So it wasn't just the PIMCO funds.
Back to the analyst ratings though, where we had started, and I
sure, we digress always.
We digress. Let's start with
left.
Okay.
We didn't say it yet. 42 PT Seaport.
I'm seeing two initiations this morning. One a buy, one a sell. Looks like the
Who
sell.
put the buy?
What
was the target?
Cross Research. I don't see a target. I've never heard of them before. Seaport Global.
I've heard of them.
Seaport Global, who we have heard of, has put a sell on in a $42 price target on Lyft. So they're making a call.
I think it was probably, there's still follow-throughs people, but people see that and they get nervous as hell. So anybody who bought this thing now, in the last 2 days, sees that and they're really puking here this morning. So I almost feel like day 3, it almost feels like that 42 spooking people this morning. I don't know if I'm going to trade it or not, but this could have a little bit of a reversal here this morning. It's day 3. I like the 3-day turns. I'd be watching this around 9:45, 10 o'clock. If it can start to show a little bit of life here. Not saying anything about long-term lift. I would not, I don't know anything where it's going long-term. It's thinking it could be $40, it could be $100. Who the hell knows? I just think a lot of times on day 3, they start to turn. So I would not be surprised if Lyft could actually close green today. That's a bold call, but I'm not saying it's going to happen. I'm saying it's possible this could actually show some life here today. After I get the washout, maybe it washes out to like 63 or 62 or something ugly. Could get uglier here yet. I wouldn't be buying in the pre-market. I think it could get uglier yet. But I think after around 10, 15 minutes, if it starts to show any type of stability, I might try it. Might give it a shot. But again, lean on the lows. And if you're not seeing a turn by 10 a.m., then all bets are off. But I think this thing could turn 10, 15 minutes after the open.
Yesterday's low, 67.78. So that would be, there is a gap in it. So that's something, if you are trading it from the long side, that is a potential resistance point. Basis the pre-market trading here. Boom, boom.
What's the low? It's pre-market low.
I'll give you the pre-market low, 65.55. So it's a stick off the low. I have not been following it. So if you are hopping in here, it's 66.40. All-time low, 65.28. For me, I'm going to wait till this thing finally finds a bottom here and then tries to rebound and maybe,
that's what I'm waiting for too. I'm trying to say that could happen. It's 9:45 this morning. I'm trying to do the whole 3-day timing trade where sometimes these things turn on day 3. I think you get a good washout here though. So I don't know if it's going to, I don't know where it's going to be at 9:35. This thing could be like $62. So I'm not pulling the trigger here at 66.38. I think it's too early. I want to see where it washes out to. I'm just saying from a timing perspective, I think these things sometimes turn about 10 or 15 minutes after the open. So let's see where it is 5 to 10 minutes after the open. And that's a nice timing for me to make a trade too, because I have all my overnight trades and stuff out. I wiggle out here usually at the open. So after 10 or 15 minutes, I've usually got some time where I can actually focus on some other stocks, and I might come back and look at this one.
Do we have some news on APYX here? It's a medical company, and they got some bad news out there, trading down 270. Yeah, something's going on with this one, APYX.
They withdrew their application for regulatory clearance for a drug this morning, it looks like.
Is it their only drug, or do they have other drugs? I'm sure you don't know.
Couldn't tell you.
376 is your pre-market low, so let's see if that is defended. If you're trying to cover short, initiate a long, try and get it as closer to that 376 low as possible. Don't really know anything about the fundamentals of the company, so I'll just give it the pre-market low as a potential support. Resistance is way the heck up there. Gap to fill 635 doesn't look like it's happening today. I do some fundamental research on that one to see if they have any other drugs in the pipeline. S&P is just hanging out here, up $1.50, 28.72.50. The high of the move right here too, 28.70.50. 69.25 is mid-range. So for your nervous Nellies like me, if the market doesn't hold 28.70 off the hop here, may give back a little bit of yesterday's impressive gains. Also got a gap in the S&P charts, even basis the pre-market after hours charts. Boom, that jump on Friday, Monday or Sunday night off Friday's close. You got a little gap down there at the 28.40.5 from 28.44.50, but heck, 30 handles away from that.
ISRG getting a buy rating at Deutsche Bank initiated with a buy. Did they give a price target on that, Spencer?
$630.
Okay, so not that high, but Deutsche Bank moves stocks. I would almost put it in the top tier with all the other organs. Yeah, it does. Deutsche Bank's influential, and probably just because it's the biggest bank over there. But they listen to it. And when I see Deutsche Bank do something, I take note always. I saw this rating last night. I was trying to buy ISRG. There was just nothing. There was nothing there. I don't even know if it traded a share last night. But I would love to have bought it 576, 577 because he almost knew this was going to push it up over that 580 resistance point. And it is this morning. It's trading 582.95. So Deutsche Bank does move stock. This is a stock that is breaking out to new highs here on the move. Actually, this is a stock that is going to break out this morning to potentially a new all-time high. So, wow. What a comeback here for ISRG. I mean, really, when you put it in perspective, obviously, we had a long road from the 2018 summer high of 581. We went all the way down to 4 when we got down to the lows on everything back in December, 430. We've come all the way back here, and here's a stock that looks like it's going to make new all-time highs this morning.
585, there's a target on the upside here. I didn't realize this creeped all the way back up to all-time highs on us here, ISRG. So 585 stands as a pre-market high.
Most delicious upgrade of the day coming also from Deutsche Bank, upgrading Hostess to a buy. Not a very
you took my pun away.
Not a very well-covered stock, but TWNK getting an upgrade this morning.
I gotta add this one to my list. It's I've been meaning to add it to my list of stocks, my universe of stocks. So I have like 2,000 stocks. I'm in the universe of stocks, my scanners and that. I don't Twinkie in there. And obviously I call it Twinkie because of the ticker symbol TWNK. But I gotta add this one. So I guess I should do that right now, actually. Just go add it into my symbol universe here. Because you know what? This is probably a good one to trade. TWNK, been hot here too. Trend is your friend. Now get the upgrade here. Chasing a little bit here this morning if you're buying over 13 on this, but breaking out.
Yeah, the makers of Twinkies, right, is rallying today. Gap fill, a few gap fill traders here. This thing gapped down in August and left a void in price between 12 even and 13.75. That's still 70 cents away. So if you're looking for a gap fill, maybe not today or tomorrow, but 13.75 to 14. Where did it close that day? 13.75 was the low. 13.94 was the close. So there's a couple targets here on Twinkie, Hostess brands. I just don't know where to buy this one if you're looking for a pullback. So just give you the resistance on that one.
Most delicious downgrade of the day coming from Guggenheim. They're downgrading Wingstop, which we have talked about on the show now for a while. The beast, it's been a downgrade to neutral, and they announced a $72 price target.
Okay,
Ooh.
so this isn't a bold call here. This probably
No.
sees 72 today. I mean, this could see 72 and almost 73, 73 the low yesterday. Somebody is offering it at the low. It's offered heavily. 73.80 for 2,000 shares, another 400 on Urca, then 73.73. Somebody's sitting there on Edge offering it as well. I mean, you look at this and it had a little bit of a reversal day yesterday, so was strong in the morning and then turned around and made new lows on the move. So they're trying to time it that was the turning point for Wing. Maybe it was, but the trend is still up here. I would say bull's still in control. As long as it stays above 70, I think it could take out, 73, 73, it's going to take out yesterday's low because it's already offered there. But I think, that $72 price target, I think it probably challenges that today.
What was I going to, has anyone ever had their wings? Are there any around here, Spencer?
Have you ate them, Spence?
I've never been to one, no.
I haven't either, so I can't comment on anything fundamental.
Oh, okay.
I haven't ate their wings.
They are in Michigan, but
really,
I've never been to one.
Are they? It's like sit down like restaurant, like Buffalo Wild Wings, or is it like a smaller shop? Like what? I don't know what it's all about. Are they smaller shops? Or they like full sit down, like we'll go drink some beers, watch the game, Wings place?
It's the
What's
same.
all about?
I have no idea.
It's the same
Anybody
idea.
knows in the chat here,
Yeah,
because I don't even know if I've seen one of these stores before.
It's basically the same idea as Buffalo Wild Wings. I don't think they're as focused on the sports stuff, but it's the same idea. It's a sit-down restaurant.
Yeah, it's a great ticker symbol. I mean, we were always going to do a great ticker symbol show, and this one's got one of the best ticker symbols with WING. But I don't know, stock's been hot. Stock's still in an uptrend. So am I coming here shorting it? No, because this stock is still, trend is your friend. I always like going with the trends. I'd be more prone to buy it probably if it got down here 70 as opposed to selling it here and hoping that this is the turning point.
Okay. I've never been a fan of Buffalo Wild Wings wings. I thought they were just kind of wimpy, but actually, who really cares? That stock that went private, right?
So yeah, that was one that I actually, this was one
wanted to buy
non-trades. Yeah. Because it had come down, and obviously we can't bring up a chart on it, or I don't know if you can bring up legacy charts there, but I can remember just going from my head, it had come down from like 140 down to like $100 area, and it had shown some life at 105, 106, and I had it twice on my list to buy it. I wanted to own the stock, and like literally, I think I had talked about it on the show like in the last couple of days. Like, this is one that I want to put in my portfolio, and I got taken over like the next day, and I was like, "Are you kidding me?" So here I was, and I just never pulled the trigger. And sometimes, you talk about doing something and then you get sidetracked and you don't do it. That was one of my worst non-buys ever, because then I get taken over for like $145. So it would have been like 40 points. I would have owned it for like 2 or 3 days if I actually would have bought the stock that my sheet said to buy the stock and put it in my long-term portfolio. Because we go to Buffalo Wild Wings. I like the restaurant, the appetizer platter. I think the wings are good there.
Really?
Yeah, I do. I like the Buffalo Wild Wings too. I mean, some people say, but I watch a game there. I mean, I like Buffalo Wild Wings. I like the company. I like the stock at those valuations when it was there. Just got taken over too quickly. I didn't buy it fast enough.
In the past few years, they've acquired B-Dubs, Arby's, and Sonic. So they're this is
who was it that bought them?
Roar Capital is their name.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. Quick question here on Apple from Steve Roberts, and kind of a quiet day. My focus here on Apple will be the pair of lows for Friday and Monday, 188.54, 188.38. Good to go north here. If we hold those lows, after that could be in a little bit of trouble. Wasn't as perky as the market was yesterday, but it was perky earlier in the month. So not a huge correlation with the market. Keeping an eye on the double bottom at the 188.50 area.
Did you know Kramer made this point last night? He did the top 5 Dow stocks of the year, and I think this was like number 2 or something. It's been an unbelievable year.
It has been.
Really considering, and Kramer made this good point too. Kramer made some good points last night on Mad Money. But this is unbelievable because it warned on like the first day of the trading of the year. So we all thought, like, holy cow, we're starting this year on the worst possible thing. It was like day 2, it warned like on the 2nd. So the first day of trading that night, it warned, and the stock got killed the next morning. And you know what? That was the bottom, and it's been straight up ever since. And the thing's up like 40% this year. That's unbelievable to have a 40% positive quarter when on the first day of the quarter you warned. Crazy.
I know. It's important to watch those big days in the market. You get a lot of volume and a turning point, and that turned out to be the turning point low
Of
there.
everything.
Yeah.
Started buying stocks on bad news.
FINX, do we have any news on that one? So we have someone asking about that in the chat. That just might be anything on that.
That's an ETF. That's the fintech.
Global
ETF.
fintech ETF.
I'm not even sure if it's widely traded because I trade a lot of ETFs. I think it's trades, but it's not like heavily.
Yeah,
traded.
140,000. Okay, Spencer. Great job today. You want to wrap things up, and just in the chat yesterday. Yes, I was joking around. It was an April Fool's joke. Haha, got you, Spinner. And he comes back with maybe you can get your money back by Michigan State winning the pool. I put that I got blown out and I had margin calls. I put that in the chat yesterday. Yes, that was an April Fool's joke. And my nephew got Lisa on a good one. He posted on his Instagram that Michigan was changing their football helmets. Their iconic winged helmet, and she showed it to me, and I'm like, I don't think that's right. And
then you realize it's April 1st.
Yeah, April Fools. So, all right,
we didn't do any April Fools jokes on the show yesterday.
Last year we said that.
That Jason, me and Joel were fired.
Yeah. All right, sorry, Spencer. Go ahead and wrap things up.
I think Spinner got the better end of that exchange there with the Michigan State jab. But anyway, as far as tomorrow's show, we'll be joined by Joe Saluzzi, market structure expert, co-founder of Themis Trading. He'll join us at 8:35. But if you missed any part of today's show, you can catch our podcast. It's on iTunes, SoundCloud, Stitcher, TuneIn, and Google Podcasts. Please remember, everything we say on our show is for informational purposes only and not meant to be investing advice. Thanks to our guest, Paul LaMonica. Thanks to everyone in our chats, both on YouTube and premarket.benzinga.com. Have a good day, and we will see you on Wednesday.